You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Mike, new starting time tonight, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Hope that didn't throw some people off. But Mike, I'm a company man now.
You threw me off.
I did throw you off.
I was up here. Yeah, you did. I was up here at 7:40 something, ready to start the show, and I'm like, "Where's Rob? What's going on? I don't have a link here." And I text you, and you're like, "Oh, I changed the time of the shot. I didn't even know." So if people knew, they knew more than I did.
I said last week I was changing it, man. I'm a corporate guy now. I need that extra 30 minutes to rush home, walk the dog, eat a little bit, make sure that I'm all set, prepared for the show, to get my notes together.
Jimmy in the chat saying he's going to have to catch up with us later because he has to go live, tweet the live bowling. I understand, Jimmy. If I wasn't doing this show, I'd be watching bowling myself. Although I only had to watch the first match because that's the only match that I have money on tonight. And it was a significant amount of money, and we did win. We did take that down. So we're plus. We're definitely plus for betting here.
I'm staying away from it. I'm staying away from it. I can't win.
You stayed away. Well, the night. I mean, I guess we'll jump right into it, right? The night in terms of the King of the Hill Empress edition got off to a bad start. Got off to a bad vibe betting wise because I was late getting home, and when I got home, it was too late to put in a bet on the Daria match. Who'd she bowl in the first round?
She bowled Clara Guerrero.
Yeah, okay. And Daria was plus 333.
Yeah, which was great odds.
Crazy good odds, right? And your brother wanted to get a bet in for that, as I did too. And I wasn't able to get that bet in. So Dave was out because he was angry that he should have won money and did not. You were out because you feel like I can't win betting on bowling.
I can't win.
And I was in. I was in heavy. PJ was in heavy with me on this Liz Johnson bet as well. PJ and I split a $400 bet on Liz Johnson.
Yeah, to win like $17.
To win 100, right?
Oh,
to win 100. We bet 400 to win 100, so we'll each get back $50. I also bet on Missy Park. No, wait, hold on. No, I didn't. I was gonna bet on Missy Parkin, and I changed my gut at the last minute. I changed, and I was like, I'm going to put it on Diana Zavjalova because I felt like Rev Rate was going to have the advantage. And then I saw them redoing the lanes, and I was like, oh, no, I might be in trouble here betting against Missy Parkin. And, yeah, I was in a lot of trouble. Diana Zavjalova didn't bowl that well at all.
Okay, well,
so
just for the record,
I turned that off early. And then the match before that, just to recap the whole thing, the match before that, McEwen, and after I take her, they say on the show that she dropped a ball case on her foot. So I'm like, it would be nice if we had this information beforehand, before I put these bets in. But go ahead, Rob.
Just for the record, if you would have been able to put that bet on Daria would have lost. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, the only reason why Daria won is because my brother bet on it and you weren't able to get in on it. That's the only reason why she won.
I don't know if you watched last night's show or not yet, but Clara Guerrero flagged the 3-6-10, yo.
I know, I saw that. That's okay. Yeah, John Nolan did that in Game 6 and USBC Championship. Only he missed by 3 hours left. That's every time somebody does that, I think about that.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if Daria was going to lose that game. Ian Lang commenting about the low maxes. I'll be honest. The maxes seemed a little bit higher this time around. Like I said, I was not home in time to find out what the max was for Daria. We probably would have had it. But, yeah, I don't know. I know that the max for Liz Johnson was 1,200, minus 400. So
Dude, my brother's pissed, dude. He wanted a steak dinner.
Oh, stop it. He's got enough money to buy himself a steak dinner. Get out of here.
Shout outs to Robert Hamilton watching us from 35,000 feet up in the air, man. Have a safe flight to Vegas. Bowl good out there, bro.
Bowl well. Yeah. Missy did throw it great, Robert. The problem was for Missy that she couldn't strike. She couldn't double. It was 9, right? And a couple of them were very bad breaks too, I feel like. So she really couldn't strike, and Diana Zavjalova just like kind of gave her the game. She never really – I think there was one point in the game where she could have put some pressure on her, and, she kind of threw it out the window during that time. So I don't really feel there was ever that much pressure on Missy Parkin, in that match. The match against Daria for the Empress crown at the end of the night, obviously a little bit of a different situation there. That match was a little bit closer, but I really felt like if Diana Zavjalova could have put even a string of shots together at some point in the game, she should have had a good shot to win that game. So, I lost on that one. I lost $80 on that, but I was up I lost $80 on Diana Zavjalova, but I was up to 80, so that put me at even. Then I put the $200 bet in on Liz Johnson for tonight, so that puts me up 50. So I'm up 50. I'm up 50 at this point.
Okay.
And I'm done. I'm done for tonight because we're here doing the podcast. Most of it's going to be over by the time we get off. And tomorrow night I got a bowl league. So and the reception in our Bolero Center is terrible. So I doubt I'll be able to access it, and I'm not going to be watching it, which kind of changes my my feeling about betting on it. Like I think betting on it while you're watching it, or watching it and betting on it, etc., is a much different experience than just putting the bet in and not watching it at all.
Okay, so to that point, betting on bowling, right, last night. Now, how much more, or I guess the question would be to you is, how much more entertainment value did that bring to the show that you were able to bet on these matches?
I mean, we've talked about it before. It increases the entertainment value exponentially for me. I was literally rooting for the people that I was betting on, right, or betting with. And I'm even going to go further here, Rob. And while watching the show last night and betting on it and thinking about that experience today, we've discussed on this show a lot that the PBA show is kind of stale, right? I know that Fox did some updates and those have been good. The intro updates have been awesome. We love that change, right? The new set looks, updated
better.
And futuristic, I guess you could say.
Futuristic.
But we have talked a lot on this show about how major things have to change, right? There has to be a real shift in what the shows are trying to do or how they're presenting the competition to the general audience, right? Particularly the audience that's tuning in like for the first time or that doesn't tune in all the time. And after a few experiences with betting, Rob, I really am convinced that the show itself needs to be about betting.
Okay,
I think that's the way to go. Like the show needs to be reworked so that, and I don't, regardless of what has to be done, almost right. All options need to be on the table. Like one example I'll give as something that should be on the table is like if we can't continue to do step ladder, 5-man, 4-man step ladder because of changes that we need that might work to make to the show, then so be it. Right? We need to put that on the table. But to me, the entire show has to be about presenting bowling in a connected way to gambling to a viewer who might not know that much about it.
Okay, so I'm thinking and I know, for instance, horse racing. Okay, I'm going to use horse racing as an example. Horse racing is mainly, people don't watch horse racing all year. most people will watch the Triple Crowns, right? And the horses are all based on the betting, and the drop downs underneath the TV screens are all what the odds are for the horses, and they even have pre-shows, right? Like if the horse racing is on Saturday, there might be a show on Friday or Saturday morning before the Triple Crown or horse race or the Belmont Stakes, whatever it is, that will go through almost all the horses and their odds and their strong points, their weak points, and they really get into it to give the fans a detailed description of every horse that they're going to bet on. Now, coming from somebody who's never bet on a horse until maybe recently, last couple of years, I love that fact where I can go bet on a horse. I don't really know anything about the horse. All I know is the odds, and then maybe some professional who is very well known to the sport of horse racing gives you a DL of the horse, right? Like they've done this in the last 5 races. They're very good in the slop. His mother was a, mutter. His father was a mutter, just kind of like stuff that gives you at least a little bit of education, and it makes you more interested in horse racing. Are you saying that's kind of the direction the PBA needs to go?
Well, I don't think it's ever going to, right. I don't think starting out it's going to be that, right? They're not going to invest so much in the product to have an introductory show to the PBA show, right? But what I would like to see happen in some way is for the show to feature betting as a main part of the show. Like, all right, so to give an example of something that might change, and again, like anything has to be on the table, right? But I feel like the actual PBA show should probably open up with a 5 to 10 minute segment, just like you described, where right before they go to a long commercial break, right? And that long commercial break is going to be where a lot of people put their bets in, right? So before you go to that long commercial break, you have a 5 or 10 minute segment where you have, Randy, the color, whoever the color guy is, and then, maybe a couple experts, whoever that might be, on a panel discussing, okay, what are the best bets here? Here's some parlays. Here's who we like in this match. Here's why, right? Here's good odds to look for, right? Giving people advice about the betting on the bowling that's coming up right now live. Because the problem with betting on bowling to me right now is that I don't know how many people there are out there who have the knowledge to bet on bowling like the way you or I or some of our fans might bet on bowling, right? So when you and I see Daria at plus 333, our eyes light up, right? But that's not the average viewer to the show who's going to react that way. But if you have an introductory piece there, right, that gives the public, the viewers, right, especially the common viewers, the information that they need to make informed bets, then it's a lot more likely that people might take betting on bowling more seriously.
Mike,
I also just one more point here to give you something else to think about and respond to. There's a lot of betting. You're right. Like with horse racing and other sports, there's a lot of betting content out there, Rob. There's tons of betting content out there, right? We as a community, bowling as a community, should be trying to tap in to that sports gambling content, okay? Because if we tap into that sports gambling content, not only are we making those people aware of the idea that you can bet on bowling and it's a viable sport to gamble on, but we can also then help educate those people in terms of how to bet on bowling and what good or bad bets might be, right? But, take it wherever you want.
Yeah, as long as like the commentating or the experts are actually giving real feedback on the bets. I just can't stand when they just talk about how great everybody is. Like you need someone, honestly, Mike, they need someone like you or I to come on and say, you know what? Like Daria is a great bet. I'm just saying they need someone like us to come on.
You're right, though. I agree. I think I didn't know who to name other than us, right? Because, and let's be clear, I could give a shout to Beef and Barnesy, right? They always return the love, but
right.
It can't be a player,
Right.
That's just the fact of the
100%.
matter. Like the players
Can't
can't
be.
be out there talking about gambling and bets on
No.
bowling, right? That's
Yeah.
just not a good look. So, and I thought about this, Rob. Like it's got to be someone who's outside of the realm of the players. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, you do need some kind of like expert, one or two people who can talk about it openly and freely. And you're right. I agree with you, Rob. And when I say that the show should be about betting, I mean everything, Rob. The conversation in the booth should be about betting. Like once the match is over, say there's a match that's a runaway match and it's over in the 7th frame, okay? And it's almost mathematically out. You know what they should be talking about? They should be talking about, okay,
match.
what's the bet for the next match? They should cut from that match and go to a side panel and say, okay, let's talk about the next match now. They should put a clock on the screen that says minutes until, like, once they know the match is over, it's mathematically over. We know who's moving on. Put a clock up on the screen, minutes until the next match starts, so people know how long they have to get their bets in. Okay? Let people put different types of bets in, right? Let people parlay. Let people put parlays in an event like this. I mean, a big factor here to me too, Robin, and this is almost an assumption to me at this point after using Fox Bet for so long. But I think, one move, the assumption here to me is that they find a better platform, or that Fox provides a better platform to actually be able to bet on bowling. But just quickly, let me give you an example of an easy connection with the betting content, okay, and Fox Sports betting. There's a guy, Cousin Sal, okay, who does a show called Against All Odds. It's a betting podcast. He actually does a TV show for Fox Sports, right, and for Fox Bet, where he gives picks, and gives his ideas of what he likes. Well, why aren't we trying to develop that relationship, right? Why isn't Fox and the PBA working to develop those type of relationships in the betting side of things, so that again we can get the idea out there that bowling is becoming, or is trying to become, a viable sport to bet on. And quite frankly, Rob, it's a great sport to bet on, because you don't really need to know a ton, to follow it. And another aspect is, like, we all know what it's like to leave a ring 10 when you need it, right? We all know what that's like, and it's a terrible feeling, but it's also a unique feeling. Through betting, you can provide that feeling to everybody.
Right.
Everybody can be at home pounding the table because the player they bet on threw a great shot and got robbed. And then the average person will come to understand what a ring 10 means and what it is and why there's bad breaks in bowling. And they will become more educated about it through the betting. I mean,
Mike,
I'm more convinced than ever, bro.
Dude, Mike, betting on bowling has been around since action bowling back in God knows how long, 50s, 40s. I mean, anybody who's been to any kind of action match at midnight or 2 a.m. know that there's more side bets going on in the back than there are actually of people betting when they're bowling each other. Okay? Bowling and betting has been like peanut butter and jelly for over 50, 60 years. Okay? Brackets is betting. People putting money on you to win brackets is someone side betting, right?
So we all know what you're saying is true. I mean, this is an excellent point. But there's no question that it's true, right? You're preaching to the choir here almost. So why then, Rob, does bowling not have its rightful place in the pantheon of sports that are big betting sports? What happened there?
I'll tell you, the PBA has always tried to be the champagne of sports. Okay, they always were trying to be like something that they would never be. They were always trying to be like a high class type golf type sport, right? When in reality, bowling's always been a blue collar, middle income sport, right? To low income sport, right? Bowlers. Think about how much bowlers have been stereotyped throughout the years. Homer Simpson's a bowler. All kinds of Al Bundy's a bowler, right? Like, think about all the people who have bowled. It's always towards the middle class to lower class And the PBA is always trying to been above that. They always try to be a very proper sport, because back in when Dick Weber was bowling and back in those days, they were always very gentlemanlike, right, and very polite. But bowling that was never their identity, in my opinion. They were always more of a gambling, drinking beer, going out, gambling type sport, right? And I think the PBA always struggled throughout like the 90s and the 2000s with their identity of who they really were. They always were trying to be something, but they really were never that. I think what you're saying with the betting and the gambling and that is more the identity of bowling. And it always has been that, right?
Yeah, but don't you feel at this point though that with sports gambling becoming legalized, with sports gambling becoming such a regular part of the sports watching culture, that it's all it's acceptable at this point. I mean, all these sports podcasts that I listen to, they all talk about gambling. I don't know if there's a single one that doesn't discuss gambling as an aspect of the sport that they're covering. Why should bowling be any different?
Well, here's the thing: is I think the bowling on the Bolero is going more towards that identity, and I think that's what they've been doing a good job of. Manscaped, right? PBR. These are our sponsors that are geared towards a certain target audience, right? Now, if you really think about it, it's geared towards the 18 to 50-year-old or 60-year-old men, right? They're not gearing the sponsor towards anybody else. And those are, hate to say it, but those are normally the people that like to gamble, are the middle-aged men, right? Like, women like to gamble too, but look, like, I'm just talking based on my experience. So right now, the PBA is definitely geared towards going to that. We interviewed Tom Clark last year, right, on the show. He talked about getting bowling into betting more, and that was one of his main items on his list to do. And look, I'm excited the fact where it's starting to be more relevant, and they're starting to have betting more, on every show. So it's starting to be more consistent on the live shows. And I think you're right. I think once they move to a new platform and they decide as a whole that the PBA will be best going that direction, I think then you might see that. But Mike, like
the PBA website stinks. The PBA website needs to be focused on gambling. Like,
yeah,
you need to
100%.
You talked about a pre-show. Like, that pre-show needs to be on the PBA website.
Right.
Where people who want to bet on bowling on the show that's going to air on this particular date can go on and watch a full half-hour preview show that gives a full breakdown, right? Somebody in the chat, John Stevenson, said the PBA would need to compile a boatload of stats in order for gambling to have some legitimacy. I agree, John. I think but I think that's one of the good things that lends itself to betting on bowling. Let me give you an example. Occasionally I'll tune into UFC fights, not the ones that you have to pay for, like the preliminary ones that they've been showing on regular TV, right? And I will bet on those. Okay, I know nothing about who the hell these guys are. All I do is look at what's their age, reach, record, etc. Now, I have never seen these guys fight before, but here's the thing: I now care about it. I'm watching it. I'm tuned into it because I'm betting on it. And I have very little information on it, right? Bowling, on the other side, John, to piggyback off your point there, it actually lends itself to this because there's so much statistical data that you can give the average watcher who doesn't know it to give them a good picture of who they should be betting on. You can talk about average in this particular house, average for the week, average on this pair of lanes. I mean, these are common stats that we see on the PBA shows anyway. Like, why should we not be using this information to bolster, again, the opportunities for people to bet on bowling? I really think this is the way we have to go.
Mike, I would honestly think about, talking with you, if that ever went down the way, if it goes down and you're allowed to bet some serious money, and start up another show, but almost like a pay-per show, where it's like you subscribe, you pay, and then let me and you give the fans those statistics and those stats on, the people who are on the show, their success rate on those patterns previously, maybe even success rate on those certain bowling centers they're bowling in, right? I mean, you do have a lot of statistics, but you can definitely do some educated research before you bet and see what win rates are on certain oil patterns in certain bowling centers. And you could definitely make some better educated guesses on bowling before you gamble. I think that would be amazing if that's something one day that we could do.
Needs to happen. Needs to happen. Everybody who is a powerful force in bowling needs to get behind this and work on this. I'm serious. This is the way to bringing bowling back into the limelight, is by presenting betting and allowing people to bet on it.
Casino bets, live bets, right?
Experiencing it. Yeah, I mean,
Casinos got to pick it up. Sports books.
We talked off air about the live betting stuff, right? And we decided kind of not to get into that because there could be a lot of issues with timing and delays and this, that, and the other thing that we don't know about. So I'm just talking about the straight betting. But I mean, I would love, and again, all things have to be on the table. All options have to be on the table. But like, take these King of the Hill shows that they're doing. I want to be able to pick. First of all, I want to be able to bet on the king matches. Okay, as soon as that qualifier match is over, contenders match is over, they should have odds up for the king match, so you can bet on that. You weren't able to do that. I also want to be able to parlay. I want to be able to pick the winner of the contender match, then pick the winner of the king match, then pick the winner of the next contender match, the next king match. I want to be able to put those bets in. And again, I feel like, this to me, as a viewer, as a gambler, sports gambler, etc., over under on games. Yes, Dave, excellent point, Dave. Excellent point, right? Okay, Mitch Young saying, just imagine the prop bets that could be done, tournament average, first to strike, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Mitch Young and Mitch, we're only getting into the TV show aspects of this, right, Rob? Like, that's the only things we've been discussing. Mitch, you're bringing up things that might even be outside of the realm of the actual TV show, right? So I'm more convinced than ever, I listen, I appreciate the sponsors too, Rob. It's great to see that. I love seeing bowling affiliated with sponsors that are relevant today. Okay. But at the same time, I think that a real focus needs to be put on this aspect of betting and how to make this a bigger part of everything about bowling.
Perfect. No, I agree. And I think, we'll see. I feel like it's becoming more and more relevant in every live show now, because a couple years ago, we didn't even have any chance to bet. So I feel like it's been slow progress, but progress still. So, yeah, Mike.
Mitch Young says, imagine placing a bet on Kyle Schubert to win Player of the Year before the year started. I mean,
great.
Amazing,
Amazing.
Like that's great. Like that's what we need, and Mitch, imagine how that would translate into the average person who bets on a bowler in that way, paying attention to bowling,
subscribing to Flow Bowling, right?
This is my point.
Right.
This is my point. Like, this is the way to get people into it. This is the way to hook them in. And then from there, you roll out everything that they ask for, everything that they want. Okay. And you get them more deeply engrossed in the sport. At least let's make a run at it. At least let's try it. I mean, I feel like we're not even trying with the betting thing right now. Fox Bet's app is so bad and it's so limited what you can do on there with the max bets and the odds and this and that. It's like they're not even trying. All right, we got to move on because we have more stuff we want to get to. Rob, I'm going to go in this direction since we were already talking about the King of the Hill shows here and whatnot. Bayside's back, dog.
I mean, it's so much better to watch with fans in the crowd, and especially the Bayside crowd, dude. Love those guys.
There you go.
They weren't even at capacity.
You just hit the nail on the head with that one. Come on, go with that. I mean, how appropriate that bowling comes back with fans there.
Dude, 100%. And last night, for example, I was watching it with my friend who came to visit me for the weekend, and he's not a bowler. He's never bowled his whole life. And he loved the fact that there were fans and they were cheering and going crazy, and he was getting into it. Like, he just enjoyed it because he's like watching fans and watching them get crazy. And of course, it didn't help that he liked Daria and he liked Clara, and I'm like, dude, the women these days are they're not ugly by any means, so they're definitely attractive females and ladies, but they're great bowlers, and between that and them, bowling, having some great matches, some drama, right? With Danielle McEwen leaving that 7-10, that was just a heartbreaker to watch. And the fans between that and Bayside, and not having that show for 16 months or whatever, how long it's been, it just was so nice to see, and it just felt right. And I really did like the shows last night. They were really good. And it was a little bit weird that the PBA is showcasing the PWBA, but
we'll get into that. We'll get into that for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the energy was great. The fans at Bayside brought it, as they always do. I will also say that if Bayside had money on the matches, right.
Yeah, imagine that. They'd be running on the lanes.
Yeah, so I do appreciate the energy that Bayside brings. I think it was awesome that the PBA came back with fans in that environment. I will say though, and this is no disrespect to Bayside at all. Love what they're doing up there, but like, is it that hard to duplicate that environment in other places?
Yeah, I think it is.
Is it? I really don't think it is.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know, because I don't know if these same type of fans. I think it's just a unique crowd in Bayside. They have this like cult group that shows up, and they have this great league that Charlie Hungus runs, and they roll into it. I know,
but all right, but hear me out here. Okay, so people see bowling and they see it at Bayside and they recognize, oh, that's awesome, right? And it's like, oh, I want to go check. I want to be a part of it. I want to go check these things out, right? So
I did
exactly. But here's the thing, Rob. Here's where I'm going with this. I know this, you know this, and we knew that we had to go to Bayside to have that particular experience, right? But I'll be honest, I think that the PBA should be trying to provide that same experience, create that same experience in other places that they go. Whether that means, creating that type of environment on their own, or encouraging that type of environment. No, Jonathan.
That's what I'm thinking is going to happen.
No. Let me be clear.
I was so with Jonathan. Let me read this comment. Let me read Jonathan's comment. Would it be like back in the early 2000s when they tried loud crowds? And I was like, man, I could just see that happening. Like, no, hey, everybody, get loud. Like a hype band.
No. You want to know what it became back in the early 2000s? It was just clapping, constant clapping.
Oh,
everyone so constant. That's all you heard, the whole PBA. And that's not what I see. Like, you almost have to train the crowd in what it, but again, seeing bowling at Bayside and seeing it there regularly helps train the crowd as well, right? It helps show them, oh, well, this is what it should be like. I just think it's not that hard to recreate. That's what I'm saying. Dave, great point. All it takes is alcohol and a barbecue before the event. I think with very little effort, you can create that type of environment around bowling more often. I'll also say that it looked like the ladies last night were a little shook out there with that environment. It looked like it was, you could see on their face that it was like, oh man, like this is for real. This is serious.
I think Daria was the reason why she was so successful, is because I think she loves the attention, right? I mean, that looked like she was really it seemed like she was really enjoying it, and a lot of the other ladies that were bowling were a little bit shook. So I think kind of Daria caught some breaks early in her first match against Clara, where she was tripping a bunch of 4-pins, kept tripping 4-pins, and then she was able to relax by the 5th or 6th frame. And I think that was a complete advantage for her the rest of the night, because she was now used to the environment, used to the crowd, and she was able to kind of settle down a little bit. Really hard to get out of the gate there, Mike, if you've never bowled there before. And Danielle, I believe, was the only lady to have had experience in Portland, Maine. So that was a new environment for every pro other than Danielle, who probably should have won. That 7-10 was a brutal break for her. But yeah, Mike, PBA, what do you think? I'm going to jump here a little bit because I know we want to get into this a little bit. What do you think about the PBA in the ladies? Is that something weird going on that they're showcasing the women this week when we all know the PWBA? Again? What?
You mean again?
Again, when we all know the PWBA is a USBC sponsored tour. Is this a sign of the PBA and the USBC working well together and working close together on stuff? Or is this a sign of the PBA maybe trying to make a move in to swoop the PWBA and kind of take it on themselves? I mean, is that a valid question?
I mean, do we have to preface this conversation by stating that, we're all about the female bowlers and female professional bowlers having opportunities, and it's a great thing, and in no way, shape, or form is anything I'm going to say meant to take away from the idea that we feel that way. But I mean, if you're asking me my opinion, Rob, I think that there is one sole reason why we're seeing this go on, and that is because Coley Edison is a female CEO of the PBA and is a female executive within Bolero. And I know for a fact, based on my research on her, that she is at least a champion of women's success in business, right?
Sure.
So, it doesn't surprise me at all to see that she wants to give and listen, Bolero and Coley is the CEO of the PBA, has done a lot for the men's side too, with the increased prize funds, etc., and the sponsorship deals and that. But at the same time, it's very clear that she wants to provide those opportunities for the women's side of the game as well. The problem, Rob, is that the PBA is not responsible for the women's side of the game. The USBC is, and we encourage all of these entities in bowling to work together all the time. So we definitely appreciate seeing that. But my question to you, Rob, is, and you asked me, is this them working together, or is this the PBA trying to scoop the PWBA? I'm going to go with the positive side here and say it's them working together. But my question to you is, what does the PBA get out of it? What is the PBA getting from the USBC in terms of help on the other side?
I think the PBA will get new faces on their shows. I feel like that's been a kind of a something that they've done this year with the PBA Junior. They had new, they got involved with that. I think the PBA is trying to expand the faces and maybe personalities that are on the shows, and instead of them showcasing another king of the bowling where they have the same pros on that they always do. I feel like having someone like Daria on and having some of these young women bowling, it helps them just have fresh new faces and to have something kind of new and fresh on the show. I don't know. That's to me.
And let's be honest, like the PBA doesn't need to steal the PWBA from the USBC. Coley Edison tomorrow could start a new female professional bowlers league, and they would all leave to go to her professional female bowlers league. Let's be clear about it. Because
why couldn't they do two tours for them?
Well, they could, but at that point, I mean, could the USBC, if Bolero and Coley really decided to put their weight, and let's be honest, it's significant weight. If they decided to put their weight behind the women's tour or creating a new women's tour, would the USBC even be able to compete
I
with
don't
what
think
they.
look, I think the USBC would actually be for it, to be honest with you. I think the USBC is not making any money on the women's tour. I think they're probably losing money on the women's tour, to be honest with you. I think that the reason why the USBC runs the women's tour is to keep high level of women bowling, right? To keep it alive. I feel like just speaking with Chad Murphy, he's very keen on having a high level of professional women bowling so that young female athletes could have something to strive for.
No, listen,
Um,
that's admirable, but you're not answering my question. It's
my question
all
is,
of that is admirable.
yeah,
My question was, if Coley and Bolero decided to put their power,
hmm
their resources behind a women's tour, do
hmm
you think that the USBC would be able to compete with them?
no,
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 no
absolutely
way,
not.
no way.
Absolutely,
So
I don't think I don't think USBC would be even fighting it. I think they would just like let it happen. Like, okay,
yeah, they
like yeah,
shouldn't. They shouldn't fight it. I don't think. I mean,
or they have an
maybe
agreement with
maybe
they
take
have an
those
agreement
resources and use them somewhere else, or if they're
like boosting
losing
the
money
prices.
on it, yeah, if they're losing money on it, certainly they're not gonna make a big stink about it if it's a venture that's losing money. So
Yeah, I think there could be an agreement made between USBC and Chad and Coley, and just say, look, like Coley could go to Chad or USBC, whoever is in charge of that, part of it, and say, look, like I'm interested in taking over the PWBA. We're going to add more money. This is all what we're going to do, and I think they can make a smooth transition. I mean, or acquisition, right? That's what it would be. It
yeah,
would be an acquisition, and
yeah,
I think it could happen.
I definitely will say that if even with the featuring of the PWBA players on the PBA shows, it makes the shows and bowling more marketing. Okay, if the PBA does bring the PWBA on, I think it makes the PBA itself more marketable, Bolero more marketable. And that could have something to do with it too. So only time will tell on that, though. So,
Sure.
all right, Rob. I think that kind of covers our discussion of the King of the Hill Empress edition thus so far. Obviously next week we'll wrap up with the rest of the shows, etc. And I'm sure I'm going to be putting some bets in when the men's shows are going on here. If we're able to bet on those, I will absolutely be putting some bets in on those, just like I did with the ladies. Rob, I want to talk about a great mockumentary that everyone should go watch. Anybody that enjoys our podcast here will enjoy this mockumentary. And the mockumentary, I honestly forget the name of it. I can't believe I'm even forgetting the name, but I can tell you where it is. It's on Netflix, and you got to search for a show called Documentary Now. Okay, Documentary Now, and it's in season 3 of Documentary Now. You'll see it. It's very easy to recognize which one it is. It has like a little bowling thing right in the icon. Uh, this, this documentary was basically a mockumentary of a League of Ordinary Gentlemen. Okay, it's only like a half hour long, but they basically spoof Pete Weber, Walter Ray, and Wayne Webb. Okay, they spoof Walter Ray as like the most boring bowler ever, but most boring person ever. Okay, they spoof Dick Weber as a completely out of control egomaniac.
Who,
He
Dick Weber or
actually
Pete Weber?
Pete Weber.
Oh, you said Dick Weber.
So sorry. Yeah, they actually redo the scene. The scene in A League of Ordinary Gentlemen where Pete Weber goes back to his dad's house and his dad's there, and he like shows him. He takes him into the trophy room and like shows him all the trophies and everything. And Pete does a little tour. They spoof that scene in this mockumentary.
Oh
And
my
at
God.
one point, I sent this out on Twitter too. But at one point in the mockumentary, they spoof the "Who do you think you are? I am."
Oh my God.
Okay. And Pete and the guy playing Pete Weber actually says at the end of it, he chops his crotch and he yells out, "Suck my sack!" Like that's the phrase that he yells out. I just found it awesome. I found it very entertaining. I think people should go check it out. If you weren't aware of it, I actually became aware of it because something good came out of the USBC message boards. Rob, I actually saw it on there. And I was like, "Oh, what is this? I've never seen this before." So yeah, let's talk about that. Kingpin
How about
sequel.
rumors?
Are we excited about that or no? Are we excited about that? I'm not.
Mike,
I don't.
I have
I mean,
mixed.
I'm
I
sort
have
of
mixed
excited
feelings.
about it.
I have mixed feelings because look, as just somebody that loves comedies and loves to laugh, dude. I enjoyed Kingpin because it was even bowling or not bowling. The movie was really really funny. Like
It was.
it was a funny movie, right?
Yeah.
But first off, sequels are always a lot worse than the originals, right? I mean, think about any comedy that was a cult classic, any really great comedy, Dumb and Dumber. Just you can go down the list, and the sequels always suck.
Especially sequels that are 20 years after the fact.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be bad. And then on top of it, the bowler in me, the content creator in me, that wants people to take bowling seriously as a market and as advertisers, hate it because every day till this day, whenever you tell someone who doesn't bowl that you bowl, the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, like Big Earn McCracken or
Oh, you like
Roy
Kingpin?
Munson. Oh, did you see Kingpin?" And I don't want to deal with that. I'm past that already. I want people to take bowling seriously, and I've been on this show plenty of times talking about how we need a serious bowling movie, fiction or not. Fiction, a serious bowling fiction movie. I'm waiting for the Smallwood show to get started. I'm curious to see.
That looks a little brutal too.
I'm curious to see what that's like, but so yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that for sure. But all right, Rob, I believe that it is everyone's favorite time of the week.
Well, wait, we got to talk about our boy Bill getting verified on Twitter.
Oh, true. You know what? Let's do that as our final thought. Let's do that as our final thought. Let's do worst of the week, and then let's do our final thought. We'll talk about Bill.
All right.
All right. You want to go first? You want me to go first? I'll go first on this one.
You go first because I've been going first the last weeks, a couple last weeks.
All right. Let me see. Hold on. All right. So my worst of the week is from the Hammer Bowling message boards. Okay, Hammer Bowling message boards. It's posted by a guy named Scott Black. Okay, Scott Black posted a ball review video, very short ball review video, just one shot. His synopsis was, "Purple Hammer is no joke on fresh oil." Okay, Purple Hammer is no joke on fresh oil. Besides the fact that my man does not throw it very good, I'm being nice about that. Okay, I'm being nice about that. All right. If you're going to put up a ball review post and say that the Purple Hammer is no joke on fresh oil, we need to know what type of fresh oil are we talking about here. Are we talking about house shot fresh oil? Because if that's the case, I kind of feel like any ball is going to look like it's no joke, right? If we're talking about, a sport type condition, what sport type condition are we talking about here? Okay, would definitely give me some insight. Like if he's bowling on something longer and he's telling me that the Purple Hammer is no joke on fresh oil, then that might mean that the Purple Hammer is like the old Purple Hammer. But if you're telling me that the Purple Hammer is no joke on fresh oil and it's a house shot, what am I supposed to take away from that? What am I taking away from that? I don't know. So I guess 2 points to this. If you're putting up a ball review, information is key. And secondly, if you're going to put up a ball review, come on, guys, let's make sure we got the physical game tight. Make sure we got the physical game tightened up a little bit. Okay?
I saw someone post a review, something that they just drilled a Purple Hammer, and someone commented, "How does it roll?" And then George Gohagan responded. My boy responds, "It rolls like urethane." It just had me dead, like, because it's so true. Like, how does it roll? What do you think it rolls? It rolls like a fucking urethane ball, dude. Like, anyway, that was always a good one. So my worst of the week is the USBC message boards, Mike. The gift that keeps on giving. And Robert Hamilton, just to let you know, I know you're out there watching on your airplane. Tim Buck did respond a few times to this thread because it was a really good thread. James Keese, congratulations on winning Worst of the Week. Just an interesting observation. I've noticed in my evening leagues that the lanes have suddenly been very dry down lane. Last night, I watched the lane guy oiling the lanes. I noticed the machine didn't seem to be traveling very far. I asked him, what was the length of the oil he was putting down? And he said, 23 feet. I said, isn't that kind of short? He said they were doing 35 feet, but the owner wants to save money, so they shorten it. I've never heard of a 23-foot pattern. I've definitely seen people struggling the last few weeks. So, Mike, I have a few points to this.
I saw that one too. That was a good one.
First off, the comments are even better than the post, okay? Now, we always talk about how, like, bowlers these days, this generation of bowling, are completely and utterly spoiled when it comes to bowling on their house league, right? If they put out any kind of tough shot, or if the league changes something or the house changes something, the bowlers lose their minds, right? Comments on this thread were like, just leave the bowling center. Just don't bowl there anymore. That's ridiculous. That's unheard of.
Typical current bowler mentality.
Right. So here's my point, Mike. When I was a young adult bowling in Brooklyn, New York, they stripped once a month. Okay, maybe once every other month. They would oil the heads. They would probably run like 35 feet. They were brutal. They were tough. Everybody bowled on it though, Mike. Heads were hooking, back ends, 8-10s, 5-pins. You know, I mean, you really had to get on the ball. And that's the reason why a lot of people that grew up in the East Coast till this day grab the living bejesus out of the bowling balls, because we had no lanes or no bowling centers that stripped. But the leagues were packed. We learned how to bowl on it. We learned how to adjust. People still complain, Mike, because guess what? That's not a decade thing. That's a human thing, right? Everybody's going to complain. But they still bowled, and we still bowled, and the scores were low, and you could bowl 630 in the league, in that league specifically, and win, 30, 40 brackets out of 40 brackets. So my point is, yes, they're oiling 23 feet. Yes, they're probably not stripping. But you know what? If you're a great bowler or you want to practice, those are the leagues where you'll make all your money, Mike. If you could figure out how to strike and how to be a great bowler and how to really work on that shot, you can make a killing bowling those leagues where 600 is a premium. Okay. Now I bet there's not hundreds of brackets, right? But in general, like winning the league, making money, doing that, being successful in the league, why don't you practice a little bit? Go to the bowling center, learn how to bowl in that instead of complaining and leaving the league, Mike. That's my worst of the week.
Agreed. All right, give it to him, Rob.
Crazy. I'm still riled up about it.
All right, Rob, our final thought is going to be that our boy is verified.
Getting them checks. This time he's getting them blue checks, Mike. He ain't getting them PBA checks. I'll tell you a funny story. When I reached out to Bill last year and was like, Bill, let me help you get verified. Let me help you do that.
We talked about it on the show. We're partly taking responsibility for this year. That's what Rob's going to talk about. So
well, I'm not, because here's what happened is I went on Twitter and I Googled it. That was my first thing. Okay, I'm getting Bill verified. I want that to come on the show, and I wanted to tell you, Mike, we got Bill verified. I did it. I went on Twitter. Twitter stopped verifying people during the pandemic, if you didn't know that. Probably manpower. I guess it takes a lot of manpower to get someone verified. And I reached out to Bill 3 or 4 or 5 months ago maybe and said, Bill, let me revisit the verification. He said to me, I already got the process going, Rob. I don't need your help. So I'm like, all right, cool. Lo and behold, last night he sends out a tweet. Of course, he doesn't send out a tweet that is verified. You know, he's going to respond to something kind of like a flex without being a flex, Mike. He flexed at the right time, right? Boom, the blue check is there. Our man's verified now. Not sure what that means for anybody, but it's cool to see, you know.
Well, here's what it means for me. Hopefully it means free shit for me. Yeah,
From
well,
where?
I mean, well, listen, you know,
you get free shit out of him being
you
verified.
know this that there have been times in the past where, you know, Bill and I and others will be going somewhere, and I will call the place, or, you know, I will make it known to them that a professional athlete is part of our group. You know, I've done this at New Year's Eve parties. I've done this at various places.
I got you.
And now, I have
verifications.
now
Big,
I have
big
oh,
deal.
I mean, big deal, son. Now I have the weight of the verification behind us. Okay, so now when I call these places and I present it as, hey, you know, I represent a professional athlete.
You representing them.
I may or may not have phrased it in this way in the past. I am a part of. I also have used the phrase, I am a part of the entourage of a professional athlete, and I'm calling on behalf of that athlete. You know, and now with the Twitter verification behind us, sky's the limit, baby. Sky's the limit. So
yeah,
I'm hyped.
Congrats.
I'm hyped. You
to
know,
Bill.
we might be getting reservations at places you can't get reservations at.
Whole new world's going to open up.
Who knows what will happen when we show up to these places and they realize that it's a professional bowler that I sold them on. But
yeah,
but okay, you know,
dude,
we can try.
A whole new world's going to open up to you. This whole land of free stuff, celebrities. You know, who knows, Mike? This is
The velvet ropes are parting now, baby.
This is
the
a
velvet
new world.
ropes are parting, and I'm walking right through them, right behind Bill. That's what I'm doing. Okay?
You know, and Bill being Bill, I send out a nice tweet, just like saying, "Hey, congratulations, whatever." Billy getting them blue checks, and he responds, "Yeah, I don't have to respond to you normal people anymore." Just in good old Bill fashion.
So
nice, Bill. Cold. You're a cold man, Bill.
Well, you know, he probably was in a bad mood too, because, you know, the Sixers were coming off of a terrible loss. They were playing better before I came up to do the podcast here. So I'm gonna go downstairs and check that out. Check the bowling out. Rob, it's always fun. We appreciate the people joining us as always. We'll be back next week to recap the rest of the bowling. Talk about the King of the Hill shows, talk about me losing money at betting. And, yeah, we'll see everybody next week. Rob, take it easy, man.
All right, everybody. Peace.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.